All right, Parashat Shelach, or Parashat Shelach Lecha. This is like the catastrophe of Am Yisrael has started. Wow, that's a lot. So Moshe checks if Am Yisrael is able to rise to the occasion. Is ready to shine, as they say. And that's why it says Shlach Lecha. So you should say Shilchu Lachem in plural. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Moshe in singular. And this is and the way it says V'aderech livdok, and the way to check if they were ready, Hayesh ba'etz im ayin. Is there a tree there or there isn't a tree there? I mean, what kind of a language is that? You go check if there are trees. Well, you're going to see if there's a tree in the whole country. What kind of an assignment is that? Right? So it should really say trees. But it comes to teach us the Moshe Rabbeinu. There is a secret here, a hidden point to teach us the Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to see if Am Yisrael would be able immediately entering the land or upon entering the land to connect to an awareness or the kavanah of what we call Etz HaChaim, the tree of life. That's why it says Ayesh Ba'etz. Are you able to connect to Etz HaChaim? And we'll see what Etz HaChaim is all about. That awareness of Etz HaChaim is the awareness of winners that allows every person to be able to shine and to shine by himself even in the darkest of all moments. You're a little too late. However, once the parasha starts with the word Shlach Lecha, right? It says Shlach Lecha Anashim Veyaturu, right? At the end, this is the parasha we says, at the end, we don't call the parasha Parashat Shlach Lecha, but we call it what?
Shlach.
Parashat HaMeraglim, right? It becomes the Meraglim. And Parashat HaMeraglim, it's wondering because it should really say, instead of the portion of spies, it should say the portion of tourists. They went to the land, to tour the land, not to spy on the land. Who are they spying? What is going on here? So really, what has changed? Something had changed, but what is it that had changed? So it seems that as soon as they enter the land, and Rabotai, this is so amazing how the parasha that we're reading and the events that happen now, both in Israel and in America, are exactly to what you're experiencing now in Eretz Israel as a nation, as observant Jews. To me, it's just unbelievable. Every year, there's something else that we are connected on the parasha, right when we read it, and events that happen around us. I don't know. I don't need miracles. I see it like right in front of me. So what was really changed? So it seems that the spies, as soon as they entered the land, they realized, they came to a certain realization. Now you have to understand those people, and we're going to say it again. Those people were the presidents of the tribe. They were the chieftains of the 12 tribes. There wasn't just regular people, right? So they understood right away that everything is all about settling the nation, the whole entire nation, in the land. And they themselves, without the help of Moshe Rabbeinu, right, without the help of Moses, because Moses was not getting into the land, are not capable to do so. And this is what the Zohar says as well. They realize they cannot do it by themselves. And because of that, they start to get worried. They start to develop a certain sense of anxiety. And the reality is, or the concern was, that in this new reality, Rabotai, they are not going to be able to continue to be the chieftains, the head of the tribes. They realize with the overall change, their job has come to an end as well. So, as this realization came, from that point on, they tried to find some kind of a reasonable excuse to their resistance to enter the land. Just like, for example, when we don't like someone, we try to find right away what's wrong with that person, or what's wrong with that place, or what's wrong with this, or what's wrong with that. But the irony of it, that we find things that are not, that we don't like, even in things that we liked beforehand. So therefore you see, by the way, and that's all the problem, you see when a person is a negative person, it's fundamentally wrong. Look what that negativity, that small-minded negativity, it caused us. Even something that they were very happy before, all of a sudden became bad. And to us is the same. To us is the same thing. And that's how the presidents, those chieftains, the tourists, they come to really enjoy and to experience a new place and to really come in with all capacity. All of a sudden, became from tourists, they became spies, right? As they say, Chazal tells us, "Oreach lerega roe kol pega," right? A guest for a moment sees all the bad things. Right? It doesn't have any effort, doesn't have to put it. He picks up on this and picks up on that and picks up on this. Like for example, you go to the easiest and nastiest job in the world to do is to be like a restaurant critic, right? You come in, you don't know what's going on, yeah, you complain right away, this is not good, this is not good. You don't need a big wise man to do that. So a person who is a serial complainer, you know that there's something is wrong with him. In terms of personality, he's not as great as most people think he is. He's a very small person. Stay away from people who always complain. So therefore, for us, right, and we need to understand that almost at every moment in the life of a person, you are giving a choice of how to experience that journey in the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Are you going to be in the awareness of the spy, which in the Kabbalistic world is Etz Hada'at Tov V'Ra, that you cannot distinguish between good and bad? Or you're going to be the awareness of a tourist, which is really Etz HaChaim, the tree of life, and to try to enjoy every experience that comes your way and to really take the best out of that particular experience at what you're doing. Now, whether you're standing at Niagara Falls and seeing that sheer beauty, or you're just opening the faucet in your house. Do you know how privileged we need to feel that we have faucets in our house? It's unbelievable. So to the experience and to have this gratitude, by the way, that's what I keep telling you all the time. To have a gratitude, to have a Hakarat HaTov is the number one step in having Yirat Shamayim. How can you thank Hashem? How can you thank God when you don't see what He does to you? Because and why don't you see it? You're busy complaining. You're busy complaining. That is a detrimental point, and it's to understand. I mean, we must understand that it's a devastating point of people to be around complainers. Put a whole daylight in between you and those serial complainers. Now, as I told you before, it can really tell a lot about what kind of a person you are, where you're holding spiritually, based on the way you choose to experience and to express your life. So, if you pay attention, you'll see that specifically those who succeed in life and really reach even not only spiritual, financial and materialistic achievement are those people with the attitude of a tourist. Right? We spoke about this a little bit in the morning when we are talking about having the mind of a beginner. Right? To coming in, to become excited, to see every single test. That's one of those things that we were talking about, for those of you who remember. So you cannot have any form of success if you're not excited to come to see it. You can't. You're going to fail. And if you're going to wait for somebody to hand you stuff, whether it's a job, a business, or whatever it is, or you're waiting for your great-grandfather to hit the bucket, right, so you can be rich, you are going to be a failure. It doesn't make a difference how much money you actually end up having. You are a failure. Because why? Because number one is your attitude. You have the attitude of a spy rather than the attitude of a tourist. You have an attitude of entitlement, therefore the excitement of revelation, of revealing things and experience things. That's why kids are always happy, because they're always looking and excited to look new things and to learn new things. We think we know it all. That's why we're very depressed. Nothing can get us excited. So we have to do all these like funky, crazy things to feel that we are alive. You don't need that. And if you look at those who fail, usually Those who fail blame the whole entire world in their failure. There's always going to be somebody else who is at their fault for their failure. They're never going to take responsibility for the mistakes they made. It's always somebody else's fault. These are people that you should stay away from. Believe me, stay away. Don't tell me, those people are poison. Stay away from them. They're going to pull you down faster than you're going to drop a cinder block from a plane. And these are the people, we always say, that exist in the awareness of the spies. They're always negative, entitled. They're afraid to let go. And so is in this parasha. The spies sees every point in the land of Israel as a proof for their loser mentality, their loser outlook of life. And why is that? Because on the other side, you could see the other example. You see Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yeshua, and they says, what are you guys talking about? Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, it's a land of milk and honey. Not a hand of suicide bombers. Land of milk and honey. And then if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if God had brought us until this point, we have nothing to worry about. We have nothing to worry about. And that is the difference between those two encampments. The difference is in the reality of Eretz Ochelet Yoshvea. Is that a land that consumes its inhabitants, or it's a land of milk and honey? It's the same land. How do you look at it? That's what you make it to be. The reality is there. But your reality is different than his reality, and that depends, the outcome of what your life would be depends on the way you look at it. What's your outlook? And if you're going to say, well, how could these two realities exist in one time? So we can find this, or we can try to answer by the famous example from the parasha, when the spies come back and they say what they saw. It says, "V'niyeh b'einenu kechagafim," and in our eyes we look like little grasshoppers. In our eyes we look to them as in other words, we started assuming things. It doesn't mean that that's what they saw. It's what you think that they think of you. By the way, this is a very common way to live life. And I hear it all the time, and I cannot tell you how upsetting it is to me to hear this all the time. Oh, what everybody else will say, what do other people would say, and what are you? You're just like the spies. You never learned anything. So why are you reading Shnai Mikra Echad Targum if you're not willing to understand and to apply it to your life? What is it for? To keep you busy? To keep your mind, occupied, not to think? No, on the contrary, you need to think. You're the one not thinking. So then it says, "V'chen hayinu b'neihem." In other words, we felt like grasshoppers. That's why they look at us as grasshoppers. Rabotai, the same thing by us. We feel as Jews weak. That's why the Goyim look at us as weak. If you feel strong, they'll look at you as strong. If somebody comes and bullies you, guess what? What are you going to say? Come on, let's have a smoke. What do you mean you bully me? Okay. I'll hit you back. I don't care. I'm not afraid. The guy said, okay, what should I don't want to deal with this guy. Go with somebody else. The Jews needs to wake up. It's enough. It's enough. Enough is enough to get smacked around by everybody, every Dick, John, and Harry in the world. It's enough. It's time for us to kick back. I don't care. I said it. I don't need to be diplomatic about it. I need to be apologetic about somebody trying to beat me up. What do you want me to do? Sit there? Oh yeah, oh fine. How about you sit there and I'll bully you. Let's see how it feels. I'm not going to let you do that. Why don't you do anything for this atrocity of letting all those, hooligans that prevented Jews from going into Columbia University, who prevented Jews to go into the subway. When they come into the subway, tell you, you're Zionists, get out. What did you do about it? You tell the mayor and all the other, dingbats, listen, buddy, I'm not going to vote for you. I'm going to make sure nobody votes for you anymore. Did you open your mouth or you just put your head down? It's enough. It's enough. You look small by your eyes. Everybody would look at you small. You make yourself big. You don't believe me? Not a problem. When you go to a bear, you find a bear, right? What are you trying to do? Mr. Encampment over there. What are you trying to do? If it's a black bear, what do? Make noise, make yourself bigger. But if you go like this, who's the Lord? Let me run. The bear's going to run after you. The same thing you do to a puma or a cougar or whatever it is. I'm talking cougar with 4 legs. You never turn your back. You turn your back, you're gone. It's time for us to do the same thing. Yes, I think it's a good idea for all Jewish kids to learn UFC. It's enough. Don't learn ballet. Don't learn, baseball, basketball, and all the other stuff. You're not going to be a basketball player. Don't fool yourself. But go learn how to defend yourself. I didn't say attack. It's a defend. Defend. It's enough. Throughout Jewish history, we were turned and massacred and burnt out. It's enough. It's about time we open our mouth. It's enough. And if you choose not to do anything about it, you're not as guilty. You're worse. You should have learned. So that is in terms of what we were saying now. Now, if you're going to look at it this way, you say, okay, listen, what's so bad about the desert? Really, what's so bad about the desert? Different than any other sins that came in the beginning from let's say the lower hierarchy of the people. This sin of the spies came from the top, the head of the nation, what we call the elite, the top of the top, the best of the best. Head of governments, head of states, of Jewish state. The Torah says, and again, I told you I'm going to say it again, that the people who were sent were kulam rashi anashim bnei Israel. They were very important people, the head of the nation. And by doing so, the question becomes even more intense, maybe even the most difficult question regarding this question. How is it possible that those people who we were sent or were chosen to represent the people, right, the leaders, the righteous, the important people, are the ones who sinned by being repulsed? Oh my goodness, Shechiyanu v'kiyimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Wow, and guys, it's not Mashiach, he's a Kohen. He cannot be Mashiach, but he's a Kohen. Kohen Gadol you could be, Mashiach you can't, sorry. Wow. You want some chulin tzaddik? It's Idan made it, the best. So how is it possible that they refuse to come to the promised land? Just like most of us today here in America. Nobody wants to come to the promised land, right? And not only that, the chet itself, the sin itself, the fear and the concern to enter the land is not so clear. Why? Because they saw so many miracles. Man, again, those guys came out of Mitzrayim, they came out of Egypt, they saw miracles all the time. They saw miracles going out of Mitzrayim, they saw miracles every day in the desert. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? It's very hard to believe or to comprehend that a generation like this had any kind of a doubt in God's ability to save them, to protect them, and to bring them to the land. So, of course, those and other questions alike have brought us to realize that we are not talking about a regular sin here, or regular spiritual crime here. That what everybody tells us in kindergarten, or what you were told throughout kindergarten until probably today about the spies. It's not what you think. There's something much deeper than that, and it has to do with you. We need to understand that this is a certain world mindset, which is very fundamental, that was running through the heads of these people, that really made them want to stay in the desert and not to enter Eretz Israel. Not to enter Eretz Israel. They wanted to go, they saw, what did they say? The famous picture of like Carmel Mizrahi, of the 2 spies coming in with grapes the size of a basketball. Well, what's wrong about it? They didn't want to go in, so they made excuses. The same thing is, I'll tell you, listen, why don't you come to yeshiva? There's no parking, there's no this, I have a headache, I have a swollen gland, I have this, I'm saying. It's all excuses. The bottom line is, it's not that you're busy, it's not because whatever you're busy, you're not so busy for other things if you were so important to you. It's very simple. It's not important to you. So you don't come to learn. And I'm going to tell you the same thing. You think it's only for learning. It's going to be the same thing for your family and for your children. And you might tell everybody how much you care about your children and how much you care about your wife. But the truth of the matter is you don't. The only excuse for you is why you don't spend time with your kid. Or, tell your kid, come on, let's go play ball. No, let's one time a year take your kid, play hooky. You say, okay, you don't have to go to work to school today. What are we going to do, Daddy? We're going to go fishing, or we're going to play ball. Don't tell anybody, just you and me, my secret. You know what will happen? It's probably a better chance to have a normal kid and no relationship with your kid than making him sure that he's going like this. I'll guarantee you that. But why? If your kid is going to tell you, Daddy, how come we never play ball? Listen, I'm busy making money for you. I don't have time for this. I work 2 jobs. I work 3 jobs. I work 5 jobs. I don't have time for you. Hey, guys, it's only excuses. The truth of the matter is you don't want to learn. You want to spend time with your son. So who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? You don't want to spend time with your wife. Don't tell me you love your wife. You don't want to spend time with her because you have to go to work and you have to go to here and you're running from one place to another to make sure that you're busy so you don't have to go with her. The same thing the spies here. They did not want to enter the land. They did not want to enter the land. Because we have to remember that life in the desert, I don't know if you've ever been in the desert, it's pretty good. It's quiet. It's tranquil. Pace of life is very different for people who live in the desert than live in the city. It's slower and so on and so forth. In the city, people run from one place to another, from one place to another. In the desert, so slowly. The same thing with the people in the desert. They didn't have to worry about anything. Why did they have to worry? They didn't have to work. What work did they have to do? They had the man giving them all the foods. The clothes never wore out. They didn't need Amazon. They didn't have to worry about anything. The well of Miriam always made sure that they have water. They didn't have to go to schlep water from whatever. It was there all the time. The clouds of glory always showed them where to go. There was never a concern of them. That's it, you're gone. They didn't have to be concerned about getting lost. The clouds of glory were always there. The clouds of glory were always around them. They didn't have to worry about anybody attacking them or not attacking them. They were always protected. Protected from the elements, protected from everything. Right? So the complete opposite of this tranquil life of the desert is, as far as the spies are concerned, is entering the land. Right? Because in entering the land, there's no more revealed miracles. Right? The man is not coming down from the heavens. There are no cloud of glories. There's a lot of time that you have to invest in plowing your field and schlepping the water out. As Chazal tells us, Eretz Yisrael nikret b'yesurim. You have to work hard to actually acquire it. And stop complaining. Mucho trabajo, poco dinero. You want something, you gotta work hard. So, and you need to have, and by the way, another thing, guys, you need to have soldiers. And you need to have an army. You need to make sure that you protect yourself. Yes, God will protect you and will guide you, but you need to put your 2 cents in to do your effort. You need to put your due diligence. Don't tell me. So if you tell me that you are an anti-Zionist because of some kind of a crazy ideal, and that's why I'm going to tell you, you're full of baloney. You're not an anti-Zionist. You just like your life and comfort. That's why. You don't want to go to Israel because over there you need to move things. You need to be responsible. Here, you don't have to do it. Don't tell me stories. Let's call the king by its name. The king is naked. It's excuses that we make for everything in life that we need to do and we don't do it. And that's exactly what the Meraglim did. They wanted to do the life of the desert, right? And they wanted the desert, to stay in the desert, because they didn't have to worry about the nations around them. They didn't have to worry about sitting in the land themselves with the hard work. They wanted to do this optimal life of give me whatever I can without doing anything, like handouts from the government kind of a thing in the desert, right? And how did they do so? Rabotai, we can only sit there. I should go to the army. I should plow the field. I need to sit down in Torah, learn Torah all day long. Rabotai, you can't live life without Torah. You cannot live life without Torah. That is a fact, and I'll be the first one to tell you that. But don't you ever dare to use Torah. Don't you ever dare to use Torah as an excuse for your laziness to not doing what you need to do. Don't you ever dare to do that. When it says, Lo tisai Shem Elokecha lashav, don't carry your God's name in vain, they meant that. Shelo la'asot b'Torah kardom lachpor ba. Don't use the Torah as an instrument to dig out for your own benefits and tell me stories that you care about it so much. As Rav Avadia's great-grandson said, what? My mother should not sleep for 2 months when somebody else's mommy is sleeping here because her son goes to college, but I have to pull my friends' bodies out of Gaza? And you sitting there, what, you're gonna fight them with a Daf of Gemara? You're gonna go to war knowing that Hashem is helping you. And that can only be achieved by learning. But there's times for you to take a gun to your head and protect yourself. And that means to have a land. That mentality that we're seeing today in Israel is the mentality of the people in this. They didn't want to go to the land. They didn't want to go to the land. They did not want to go. When October 7th happened, I wanted to go to the embassy. I sent them emails. They laughed at me. I told them, I served 7 years. I was in the Air Force. I this, that, the other thing, and so on and so forth. I also wrote that I was born in 1962. They laughed at me. Said, we don't need you. I'm willing to go. Yes, I was willing to go. I was willing to go and help my brothers and sisters there, and for you to worry about your learning because you're capable, you're big boys. I'm not going to say, oh, I have guys here. No, gotta go. I hope I would never be needed there in that capacity. But if it is, I'll go. Don't follow around the rhetoric of the mindset of the Meraglim. Again, I'm going to tell you, you cannot live your life without learning Torah. You cannot. There has to be Torah in your life every day. That's the core of our existence. That's the spiritual umbilical cord that we all have. We got to make sure it's connected. But we need to understand that there is also other aspects in life that we need to consider as well. We cannot let our brothers and sisters die over there where we use the Torah, the Holy of Holy, not to care. That's not acceptable. At least to me. And I don't care if you think that I'm nothing. I know I'm not important. But that's my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion. As much as you're entitled to your opinion. And we are going to pay the price for our perspectives, one way or another, whatever price that will be. But we saw what that kind of an attitude that led us. That attitude led us for 40 years spinning around in the desert, not doing anything. They didn't want to give up their power. Don't tell me that if you go to the army, you're going to be secular. If going to the army is going to make you secular, for all the years you've been in yeshiva, you've been wasting your time. Or your time has been wasted. Because people go off the derech, even they are in yeshiva. And if that's the case, well, let's adapt and change. Because you need to understand, they tell you something all the time. It's such a funny thing. You like to believe whatever is convenient to you. But we think that evolution is about survival of the fittest, right? Whoever is stronger. It's not. The secret to evolution is the survival of the adaptive. If you're able to adapt. And the survival of Judaism is its willingness to adapt to the reality that after 2,000 years, we're sitting in the land. And if the situation right now in Israel, halachically, is a halachic catastrophe, we need to be able to change it. And we are as guilty to the halachic catastrophe that is happening in Israel because we chose to go to the desert. Now, you should understand that sitting down, like the Jews wanted in the desert, we sit down, right? We're not going to sit down and smoke, hashish all day long. I don't know, marijuana like they do in New York. Everywhere you walk, it smells like disgusting. They wanted to learn Torah, to do mitzvot. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had different plans for them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had different plans. Rabot machashavot belevish. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had different plans for them all together. HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded them to enter Eretz Israel. If only learning Torah was the case. So why do we don't need to leave the land. Let's just stay in the desert. We'll spin around. We'll be tourists. We'll spin around. And again, I'm not saying to you, chas v'shalom, God forbid, that learning Torah and keeping the mitzvot is not important. That was the most important thing. But we're missing the point in doing the Torah. We're missing the point. And the point is like this. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us in the land? Why? Only because He promised this to Avraham Avinu.
Create a society.
Excuse me?
To create a society.
To create a society? Well, you could create a nomad society. Like, be like the tribes of the Lakotas, spin around the land, the Great Plains, eat tatanka all day long, Well, what do I care? Be a holy man, Well, we don't care, but there's something else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu commended us to enter the land because He saw with that the actual purpose of Am Yisrael to the world. And what's the purpose of Am Yisrael in the world? The job of Am Yisrael in the world is not, and pay very close attention, is not to escape materialism. Is not to escape materialism. It does not mean that now you get a free ticket to go to the Dominican Republic every Monday and Thursday. Now you got to come to shul and read the Torah. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about something completely different. So it's not escaping materialism, but rather putting spirituality in materialism. As we say in Lashon HaKabbalah, hafachat haruach b'chomer. The chomer is just a raw material. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the land, the earth, and He formed the body of men, of Adam, vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim, and He blew the spirit into Adam, and then He created mankind. In order for us to be partners in creation, we need to take the raw material, the chomer, and make it spiritual. Put life into it. This is our job. To elevate materialism into a high level. To sanctify it, and by sanctifying it, sanctify life. For that, you need a land. For that, you need a land. For that, you need a country. For that, you need a state. For that, you need a person or a nation that lives there. National life. Natural life. That affect all aspects of life. For that, you need an army. Because a nation needs an army. And in that new reality of having a land and having a nation, even though it's difficult, even though it's demanding, even though you might get sidetracked, Am Yisrael is demanded to really, by doing so, reveal the name of Hashem and to sanctify Him in the bottom of the earth, right here on earth. As the Rambam says in Halachot Yesodei Torah, which we read, and any person who does mitzvot, afilu behatznea, even in hiding, in privacy, not because of fear, not because of pachad, velo miyira, and not from awe, velo al menat lekabel sachar or kavod, and not to get a reward or to get honor, but rather because God said that, hareu mekadesh shemo. This is Kiddush Hashem. You can do Kiddush Hashem even by preventing yourself from doing an Averah or actually doing a mitzvah for the right reason. But if you do it for the wrong reason, that could be the highest Chilul Hashem. And that's what we're missing right now in Israel. That's what we miss here in America as well. That's what we miss as a nation. The learning of this Parashat Shelach Lecha is the following. that we have a choice and we have to fight and struggle with the attitude of a spy among us, because at the end, that a person that falls to this awareness, to this mindset of a spy, he himself will become bad. Not only his reality, he himself will come bad, to the point that he would actually become a liar. And look what happened to these people that they came back. Out of 12, 10 fell into this mentality. And because of those 10 people, 40 years they spent in the desert. A whole generation had to pass before they entered the land. It's no different than it is today. You probably have 2 out of 12 people who would stay positive and will have the proper mentality. But you should know that if you connect yourself to these losers who are negative people, who blame everybody for their faults, for their fears, you're not going to come out of this alive. You're not going to come out of it, just like the generation of the desert. We need to remember and tell ourselves always that wherever we are, wherever we're with, this is the promised land. And without it, there is nothing. Here is the milk and honey. Eretz Israel is the milk and honey. The milk and honey is not only a geographic place, but the milk and honey, first of all, is your mindset and your attitude. Shabbat Shalom.